You're not stuck. You're just weak at choosing. Let that hit you properly. Your life right now, the money, the body, the respect you get, the way people talk to you, the way you talk to yourself, it's not random. It's not bad luck. It's not your past. It's not your parents. It's not the system. It's your choices. And the most dangerous part, you've trained yourself to make the wrong ones automatically. You wake up tired, not because life is hard, but because you chose comfort over discipline last night. You scroll instead of build. You hesitate instead of act. You stay quiet when you should speak. You overthink when you should move. And now you're living a life built by hesitation. But here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. Somebody with less talent than you is winning right now because they choose differently. They choose pain when you choose comfort. They choose action when you choose excuses. They choose growth when you choose distraction. And that gap becomes your regret. Right now, your brain is wired for comfort, not power. That's not philosophy, that's neuroscience. Every time you choose the easy option, checking your phone, delaying work, avoiding confrontation, you're strengthening neural pathways that make weakness automatic. You don't decide to procrastinate anymore. You default to it. Your brain has been trained to protect comfort instead of building strength. And here's the brutal truth. Comfort is not neutral. Comfort is a slow death. Every easy choice you make is quietly killing your future self. Every time you say, I'll do it later, you're reinforcing a version of you that cannot be trusted. And if you can't trust yourself, no one else will. Respect starts internally. Dominance starts with self-control. Power starts with choice. Right now, you don't have a motivation problem. You have a decision-making identity problem. You've built an identity around avoidance. You avoid discomfort, you avoid pressure, you avoid responsibility, and then you wonder why your life feels small. Because small choices create small lives. But here's where everything changes. Your brain is not fixed, it's programmable. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you become, not metaphorically, literally. Neurons that fire together wire together. Every time you choose discipline, you strengthen circuits for discipline. Every time you choose courage, you make fear weaker. Every time you act fast, you reduce hesitation. This is how identity is built, not through motivation, through repetition of choice. You don't become confident and then act. You act and then confidence is built. But you've been doing it backwards, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel motivated, waiting to feel confident. That's why you're stuck, because the version of you that's waiting never arrives. Let's get something straight. You will never feel like doing hard things. High performers don't feel better, they choose better, and that difference changes everything. There's a moment every day, multiple times a day, where your life splits into two directions. One path is easy, the other path is powerful, and in that moment, your brain tries to negotiate. Just 5 more minutes. I'll start tomorrow. I'm not in the mood. That voice, that's not you. That's your lower brain, your survival system, trying to conserve energy and avoid discomfort. It doesn't care about your goals. It cares about safety. But growth is not safe. Dominance is not safe. Leadership is not safe. That's why most people never reach it. They listen to a brain that's designed to keep them average. If you want power, you have to override it. There's a technique used in elite military training. It's simple. No negotiation. When it's time to move, you move. No internal debate. No emotional discussion. Action. Because hesitation creates weakness, and weakness compounds. Think about your last 24 hours. How many times did you delay something you knew you should do? How many times did you choose comfort instead of growth? How many times did you betray your own standards? That's the real problem, not failure, self-betrayal. Every time you don't do what you said you would, you lower your internal status. You lose respect for yourself. And once self-respect drops, everything else follows. Your posture changes, your voice weakens, your decisions become smaller. People feel it. You don't command respect anymore. You ask for it, and asking is losing. But here's the shift. You don't rebuild your life all at once. Uncontrolled dopamine is every time you choose fast stimulation, social media, junk content, constant scrolling, you lower your brain's sensitivity to effort-based reward, which means work feels harder, focus feels painful, and success feels far away. That's not laziness, that's chemical conditioning. You've trained your brain to prefer easy wins, and now real wins feel too slow. So you quit, or you delay, or you never start. But the people you admire, they've trained the opposite. They've trained their brain to associate satisfaction with effort, with struggle, with completion. That's why they can sit down and work when you can't. That's why they move when you hesitate. That's why they win. And it all comes back to choices, small ones, repeated daily. There's a rule you need to understand. What you do when you don't feel like it defines you, not your goals, not your intentions, not your plans, your behavior under resistance. That's your real identity. Right now, your identity is built on how you act when it's hard. And if you're honest, that's where you break. But that's also where you rebuild. You don't need more information. You need stronger execution. And execution is trained. Here's how you start. You eliminate delay. There's a 3-second rule elite performers use. When you know what needs to be done, you move within 3 seconds. No thinking, no over-analysis. Because thinking is where weakness enters. Action is where power grows. You hesitate, you lose, you move, you build. Simple, but not easy, because your current identity will fight back. It will try to pull you into old patterns. Comfort, distraction, excuses, that's expected. That's the resistance phase, and this is where most people quit, because it feels unnatural. Of course it does. You're breaking a pattern that's been reinforced for years. But here's the truth most people never hear. Discomfort is proof of growth. If it feels hard, you're doing it right. If it feels easy, you're staying the same. Now we escalate because controlling small choices isn't enough. You need to control yourself under pressure. That's where real power shows. Anyone can act disciplined when it's easy, but when stress hits, when emotions rise, when fear shows up, that's where your true level is exposed. You get nervous speaking, that's a choice pattern. You avoid eye contact, that's a choice pattern. Your voice shakes, that's a nervous system trained to submit. And yes, that can be changed. Confidence is not personality, it's conditioning. You train it like a muscle. You deliberately put yourself in situations where you feel pressure, and you stay. You don't escape. You don't avoid. You hold your ground. That's how fear loses power. Avoidance feeds fear. Exposure destroys it. Every time you face discomfort without running, you rewire your brain. You teach it. This is safe. I'm in control. That's how dominance is built. Not by pretending, by repetition under pressure. And your body plays a role too. Your posture is not just physical, it's neurological. Stand straight, shoulders back, slow movements. You signal authority to your brain. Speak slower, you signal control. Hold eye contact, you signal dominance. These are not tricks, these are inputs to your nervous system, and your nervous system controls your behavior, which means you can reverse engineer confidence, but only if you choose to apply it. And here's the pattern you need to break immediately. Waiting to feel ready, waiting for the right moment, waiting for clarity. That's not patience, that's fear disguised as logic. The right moment is created by action. Clarity comes from movement. Confidence comes after you start, not before. You don't think your way into a new life, you act your way into it. And right now, you've been thinking too much, analyzing too much, delaying too much, which means you've been choosing weakness, not intentionally but consistently. And consistency is what shapes identity. So now we flip it. From this point forward, you don't ask, what do I feel like doing? You ask, what would the strongest version of me choose right now? And then you do that immediately, no debate, no emotion, just execution. Because your future is not built on big decisions. It's built on small ones, made correctly, over and over again. And most people fail because they underestimate the power of one choice, but you won't. Not anymore, because now you see it. Every moment is a test. Every decision is a direction. Every action is a vote. And you've been voting against yourself. That ends now. If this hit you, don't ignore it. Most people feel this kind of truth and then go right back to comfort. Don't be most people. This audiobook isn't here to entertain you. It's here to change you. So here's your next step. Close this video when it ends and take one action you've been avoiding. Immediately, no delay, no excuses. That's how transformation starts. And if you're ready to rewire your mind, build discipline, and take control of your life, hit subscribe to the motivational audiobook spot. Turn on notifications and comment, I choose power below. Because the version of you that wins, they don't wait, they choose. You think pressure is the problem. It's not. Pressure is the test that exposes your training. Right now, your reactions are predictable. Stress hits. You tighten up. Attention comes to you. You shrink. Conflict appears. You avoid. Opportunity shows up. You hesitate. That's not personality. That's conditioning. And conditioning can be broken, but only if you stop lying to yourself. You say you want confidence, but you avoid the situations that require it. You say you want respect, but your behavior signals submission. You say you want control, but your impulses control you. That contradiction, that's why nothing changes, because your actions don't match your standards. And reality doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you demonstrate. So let's remove the illusion. Confidence is not a feeling, it's evidence. Evidence built through repeated proof that you can handle pressure. Right now, you don't trust yourself under pressure. That's why you overthink. That's why your voice changes. That's why your energy drops in certain rooms. Because deep down, you haven't proven to yourself that you can stand your ground. So your nervous system plays safe. It tells you to shrink, to blend in, to avoid risk, because it thinks that protects you, but it doesn't. It makes you invisible, and invisible people don't get respect. They get ignored, or worse, controlled. Now we fix that. You don't become fearless. You become trained. Fear doesn't disappear. You just stop obeying it. There's a method used in high performance psychology called controlled exposure. Simple idea. You deliberately put yourself in uncomfortable situations and you stay there longer than your brain wants. That's it. No complexity. But the execution, that's where most people fail because your brain will create urgency. It will tell you, leave now. This is too much. You're not ready. That voice is not truth. It's protection. And if you keep obeying it, you stay weak. So here's your new rule. When discomfort rises, you stay, you breathe slower, you ground your body, and you hold your position. That's how you retrain your nervous system. You teach it. I don't run. And once your brain learns that, everything changes. Your voice stabilizes, your posture strengthens, your presence expands because you're no longer reacting, you're controlling. That's dominance, not aggression, control. And it shows in small things. How you walk into a room. Do you hesitate at the entrance? Or do you enter like you belong there? How you sit. Do you collapse into the chair or do you take space? How you speak. Do you rush your words or do you control the pace? These are signals and people read them instantly before you even say a word. They've already decided how to treat you based on your energy. And energy is behavior, not intention. So we train it. You start with your body because the body leads the mind. Stand up straight, slow your movements, eliminate unnecessary fidgeting. Stillness is power. Fast, chaotic movement signals anxiety. Controlled movement signals authority. Then your voice. Lower your speed. Pause between sentences. Let silence work for you. Weak people rush to fill silence. Strong people control it. When you speak slower, people listen more because you sound certain, and certainty commands attention. Even if you're not fully confident yet, you act it, and eventually it becomes real. That's identity rewiring. You don't wait to feel like the person. You behave like the person until your brain accepts it as normal. Now let's go deeper because surface level confidence isn't enough. You need emotional control under pressure. That's where most people collapse. Someone disrespects you, emotion spikes, you react instantly, too aggressive or too passive. Both are weak. Real power is controlled response. You feel the emotion, but you don't let it control your action. That requires space, and space is trained. There's a technique. When emotion hits, you pause, not externally, internally. You create a gap between stimulus and response. That gap, that's where power lives. Untrained people react, trained people choose. And that choice defines everything. You don't need to win every interaction, you need to control yourself in every interaction. Because when you control yourself, you control the frame, and the person who controls the frame controls the outcome. This is social dominance psychology, not manipulation. Control of self, which influences others. People follow certainty, they respect stability, they trust control. And right now, you're leaking energy through overreaction, through over explaining, through seeking approval. That needs to stop. You don't explain your value, you demonstrate it. Through behavior, through standards, through consistency. And consistency comes from discipline, not motivation. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. You've heard that before, but you haven't lived it because you still negotiate with discomfort. You still give yourself options. You still allow escape routes. That's why discipline hasn't locked in. So we remove the option. There's no, maybe I'll do it. There's only I do it. That's the shift. Binary thinking. Either you execute or you don't. And every time you don't, you reinforce weakness. So we tighten the system. You create non-negotiable actions, daily, simple, clear, no emotion attached. You wake up, you get up immediately. No snooze. You sit down to work. You start within 60 seconds. No delay. You feel resistance. You move anyway. No debate. This is how discipline is built. Through enforcement, not intention. And once discipline is in place, everything else becomes easier because you trust yourself. And self-trust is power. Right now, you don't fully trust yourself. That's why you hesitate. That's why you second guess. That's why you look for validation. Because internally, you're not certain you'll follow through. So you look outside. That ends here. You build internal proof. Small wins. Stacked daily. You say you'll do something. You do it. No matter what. That's how you rebuild your identity. Now we go to deep work. Because without focus, you're nothing. You can have motivation, you can have goals, you can have plans, but if you can't focus, you can't execute. And right now, your focus is fractured, destroyed by constant stimulation, notifications, scrolling, short form content. Your brain is addicted to novelty, which means sustained effort feels painful, so you avoid it. That's the real reason you can't sit and work. Not because you're lazy, because your brain is overstimulated. So we fix it. You reduce noise. You create blocks of time where there's only one task. No phone, no tabs, no distractions. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your brain will crave stimulation. That's withdrawal. That's good. That means you're breaking the addiction. You sit through it. You keep working, and slowly your brain adapts. Focus becomes easier. Work becomes smoother, and your output increases. This is how high performers separate themselves, not through talent, through focus, because focus multiplies effort. Now combine that with discipline, and you become dangerous. But we're not done, because there's one more layer: mental toughness. This is where everything is tested. When things go wrong, when plans fail, when results don't come, what do? Most people break, they lose momentum, they lose belief, they quit, not because they can't win, but because they can't handle the process. So we train that too. You stop expecting it to be easy. You expect resistance, you expect setbacks, you expect slow progress, and because you expect it, you're not surprised by it, which means you don't break, you adapt, you continue. That's toughness, not emotionless, relentless. You keep moving, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because now you understand something most people don't. The hard path is the fast path. It feels slower, but it builds strength, and strength creates speed. While the easy path feels fast, but leads nowhere, and now we bring it back. Everything we've covered comes down to one thing: choice. In every moment, you're choosing comfort or growth, weakness or strength, avoidance or action. And those choices stack, they compound, they build your identity, they shape your life. You don't need a new plan, you need a new standard, a standard where weakness is not tolerated, where excuses are not accepted, where action is automatic. And once that standard is in place, everything changes. Because now you're not hoping for a better life. You're creating it, one decision at a time.